Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am a much less good-looking Sarah Gonzalez.
That's very true.
Very true. Thank you, Pat. See, consensus on the panel right off the bat. Pat and Jason joining me today. Pat, what's your big story?
I think I like the story of the top 10 Democrat candidates for 2020 as compiled by The Hill.
We're already there. This thing is already freaking started.
Full steam ahead on that.
Jason?
I've been pushing this story for about 2 weeks now. No one will let me talk about it, so now I'm forcing the issue. The Wall GoFundMe, and not it's about its chances, but what it means going forward and just the principle of it.
Well, we won't have time for that today, of course. And because it's just the three of us today, I get my own story, and I'm going to go with the Louis C.K. thing. We talked a little bit about it on radio. The way that we are kind of moving towards a society that just censors itself with a big smile on its face. It's very strange. Pat, let's start with yours.
All right. The Hill has compiled a list because the Democratic field is going to be 333 people by March. Yes. And so they've compiled a more tangible list of maybe 10. And then some also rants. But I found it pretty interesting because some of the names that lead in the opinion polls are kind of down in their survey. They think the number one candidate for 2020 for the Democrats is Beto O'Rourke, a guy who lost in his bid in a statewide election, but he captured the imagination somehow of the Democrats.
Yeah, maybe we should, as we go through this, we should kind of just give quick takes on each one of them. Because with Beto is interesting in that I think his chances of winning the nomination are in a way worse than him winning the actual race, the presidency. And obviously it's not exactly true, but because you have to win the nomination to win the presidency, at least that's how I understand it currently. But he's not, I don't know that he stands out and necessarily is going to capture the attention of Democrats in that primary. He's more dangerous to me when he gets in front of an audience who doesn't really follow policy. And he can look at this engaging guy he seems friendly and he's decent looking and he's obviously Hispanic, deeply Hispanic.
Except for not?
Well, not at all.
Completely not?
Yeah. But I think there's a chance there that if him against Trump is an interesting dynamic. I don't know how that works out. Where Elizabeth Warren versus Trump, I know exactly how that works out. That's not going to be good for Democrats. So I don't know. I think Beto, he's got a chance, but it's a weird thing to put him number one, I feel.
It is.
It's such a weird, I can't tell. It's like they're so psychotic about what they actually want out of this candidate. For one, I think they desperately want a young guy from the South. Mm-hmm. I think they've been looking for that for a long time. Someone that's electable, young dude from the South. But on the other hand, he's white, he's male, he's a gazillionaire.
He's cis too, isn't he? Isn't he cisgender?
Yeah, he's cisgender.
All these things.
He was born a male and is still male. Geez, he's got no imagination, this guy.
But you could imagine on the debate, floor that you're going to have your Kamala Harris's, your Elizabeth Warren's, saying that it's time for a woman, and it's time for I'm tired of all these billionaire white guys. And then, Beto's going to be can you go before? I don't want to follow that.
It's true. I think there will be pressure in the primary on Beto and, some of the other names you're going to come up with here that are, they're white dudes. And there's an argument among Democrats right now. Michael Avenatti is the only one I've heard make it publicly, but it's definitely going on in Democratic circles, which is, look, the reason they lost last time is because there's way more racist and sexist than they think. So if we want to get someone with crazy socialist policies, we better get a white dude in there so people are okay voting for him.
And speaking of white dudes, number 2 on the list, Bernie Sanders, who is a white dude, but also a very old white dude. I mean, this guy is 76 right now. He would be 78 when he wins the seat, if he would win. And I just think we need a constitutional amendment that if you're past the age the average American male dies, you can't be president. Okay? We don't need that.
He's interesting because he's still isn't he the most popular politician in the United States?
He has really good approval ratings for what I think because people see him as this lovable grandpa guy, right? They don't take him seriously as a policy guy for the most part. He's just this kind of guy who comes out and rants angrily.
He's caustic.
He's lovable in the way the two guys in the balcony on the Muppets are lovable.
I guess.
Right? The guy kind of just screaming insults from above saying how crappy the show is. That's him. And I do feel like I did love those guys. They were my favorite characters on the Muppets.
And he's still, the percentages of millennials and younger voters that are drifting that direction. socialism. They're turning away from capitalism. There's a vast majority of them.
Very much so.
They're all on board with socialism. He has cornered that market.
He has. And one more thing on Bernie too is he should be doing better. He should. There's no there's a reason why Beto O'Rourke is showing up at 10% in these polls. There's no reason Bernie Sanders is. The guy won 40% of the Democratic primary vote last time.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who he is. The whole audience knows who he is, and he's still stuck at 10 and 11%. I think the Democrats are like, we love the socialism, Bernie. We want someone new delivering it, and I do not think he's going to win.
I think that's true. Number 3, we got middle class Joe.
Lunchbox Joe?
Biden. Lunchbox Joe.
So fun.
Joe Biden he's a tough one because I think he'd fare pretty well. I think he'd have a pretty good shot at the nomination. Now, would he beat Trump? I don't think so, but he's formidable. Even though he's a buffoon,
yes,
he's a formidable buffoon. Because some people, they just take it as part of the equation. That's just Joe. Well, it's just Joe being a moron. That's okay with you?
Joe will, Lunchbox will go to those places that Trump won last time. You know what I mean? He'll go to those places. They'll rebrand him as the Bill Clinton era, modern day Democrat. He'll go to those places. He'll go to places in Michigan, Wisconsin, places like that. That Trump surprisingly won. But I don't think that if he goes there and Trump goes there, who's going to win? I think they'll probably go with Biden, wouldn't they?
I don't know. I don't know. I do think there's an argument that's relatively strong to make for Democrats that they don't need an entire rebrand. They don't need to do things completely differently. Just a dab of competence somewhere in that electoral process. And remember, I think it's 40,000 votes. If 40,000 people switch from from Trump to Clinton in those 3 states, Clinton wins. They won the popular vote. In their minds, they're saying, we don't. This is not time. We don't need to release new Coke. We just need to rebrand Coke Classic with somebody who knows how to get the freaking delivery there. And I think with Biden, because Biden kind of gives you that potential road where he can go into those Midwestern states, the Michigans, the Pennsylvanias, where Trump somehow was able to kind of come out of that and say, well, I'm more competent, I'm more sane than Hillary. We know she was crazy. I can be I can be your type of Democrat. And again, I've said this before, but I think it's true that Biden is one of the only candidates on that side that I'm pretty confident could deal with Trump's stuff. Trump gets the same. We were just talking about how Joe. People were like, it's just Joe. Well, that's what everyone says about Trump too. It's like, it's just Trump. He has that. They both have that ability to, when they make mistakes or they say something they shouldn't have said, to be able to let it roll off and they. It's
already built into the equation.
Built into the equation. Joe Biden says a bunch of dumb stuff.
It's funny. The similarities are incredibly similar. I remember the debate. Half the time, then Trump never even said anything of substance in any of the debates, and he was deemed the winner. I remember what was the 2012 election when Biden was debating Paul Ryan.
Oh, I remember that.
And literally 75% of the time, he was just laughing. He was just laughing. Cutting him off and just cracking up. He wouldn't answer him, he would just laugh. And they said that he won that debate.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, Paul Ryan's listing off all these deep proposals and Joe's just laughing at him.
Just cracking up.
But that's what Trump would do, right? Ted Cruz would come in and he'd say some detailed thing and he'd be like, come on, lying Ted. And that's it. That's all he had to do. And Joe has a little bit of it in there. Whether he still has it, I don't know. It's questionable. It's been a long time. What's his age? He's up there in the Bernie category.
Joe's 75, I think, 76 in there somewhere.
But they're both. Both candidates are going to be in their 70s if this happens.
Yeah. Then we get to some identity politic candidates in Kamala Harris at number 4 and Elizabeth Warren at number 5. Now, I think Elizabeth Warren's star has risen and fallen. I think she's out of it now.
Same.
Even with Democrats, it seems like, and I'm not sure if the Native American thing completely did her in. I think it was just the last straw. They're like, okay, you're done. You're 1,024th Native American. Shut up. We're ready to move on. Kamala Harris, though, seems a little more exciting to the Democrats.
Yeah, I think Harris is much more of a threat. Again, same liberal, socialist policies, right? It's just that I think she's another one that might be able to hang a little bit with Trump in that she was a prosecutor and she's used to those back and forths. Where Elizabeth Warren just looks like she can't stand up to that sort of pressure. Now, and I'll forgive you for this, Pat. I know you think that maybe you didn't think Elizabeth Warren had a chance. That's probably before you saw the video of her getting a beer on her announcement.
It was prior to that.
It was prior to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want you to see this because this is quite possibly the most natural thing
anyone's ever done on the internet.
This is not planned. You can tell. She was just in the middle of talking and decided she wanted a beer. This was not planned in advance. There's no way.
Coincidentally, her husband showed up and she had to introduce him.
Oh, this is what happens sometimes when you're filming yourself in your kitchen.
Right.
So here's the video. Watch.
Hold on a sec. I'm going to get me a beer.
I mean, horrible.
Like the worst.
Not even remotely close to natural.
Hey, my husband Bruce is now in here.
Oh, amazing!
You want a beer?
No, I'll pass on the beer.
You sure? Okay, say hello to folks.
Yes.
So this is my sweetie.
Hello.
And I'm crazy.
I love you.
I love you too. Thank you for being here.
I love you.
I'm glad
In
you're
front
here.
of all
Enjoy
of
your
us.
beer.
Oh,
Who we got here so far? Skylar, and 14 others. Hello.
Whoa, not 14.
Denise. Hi. Fortnite. Good to see you. Who else have we got? Kenny. Is that right? Kenny and the boys. I'm glad to see you. Is that Greenie Goddess? Wow.
Is that Greenie Goddess? Wow.
That is embarrassing.
It's really embarrassing.
This is why you just watch a video like that and you know you need to run away from her if you're the Democrats. I mean,
Right.
run her, please. As a Republican, please
I'd love
run
it.
her.
And Trump would love it. And he's said he would love it.
I'm gonna get
because he
me,
knows it destroys her.
A beer. I mean, come on.
Oh, look, my husband just walked in. Bruce, come on over.
I haven't seen anything look more natural than when Barack Obama shot a shotgun. I think that was equally just so natural. You could tell he does it all the time.
We got to take a break here, Pat. Do you want to run the 6 through 10 real quick just to get them out?
6 through 10. Sherrod Brown, Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, Michael Bloomberg, and Kirsten Gillibrand, none of whom have a shot.
Yeah, I mean, Sherrod Brown is the only one who might. I don't know enough about him really to rule him out or say he's got a real shot. They like the combination of a red state where he's performed well. He's got kind of a populist sort of tilt to him. He's another one like Biden who could go to those Midwestern states, but the other one's Klobuchar, maybe. I don't know. All right, we'll take a break. Back in a second.
I'm gonna get me.
All right, so Louis C.K. is a comedian, and he's in trouble because he's been saying bad things about people. Now, of course, this is a guy who got in trouble for a sexual scandal of sorts. We've talked about a decent amount on the show. And so now he is back on tour. He's going to comedy clubs. The audience apparently loves the guy, but the left people on Twitter don't, and that's really who you have to care about these days, not your actual audience. You have to care about what people on Twitter think for some reason. So he did a set in which he talked about gender issues and particularly among the youth of America, as well as the kids from Parkland. Some of it's offensive. If you have little kids around, you might want to move them out of the room, but it's all bleeped for you. Here is his set that got him in trouble. Listen.
But I'm a little disappointed in the younger generation, honestly, because I'm 51 years old, and when I was like 18 to my 20s, I mean, we were idiots. We were getting high, doing mushrooms and then older people were like, you gotta get your together. And we were like, yeah, you. And I was kind of excited to be in my 50s and see people in their 20s and be like, they're crazy. These kids are nuts, but they're not. They're just boring. Telling them you shouldn't say that. What are you, an old lady? What the are you doing? That's not appropriate. You're a child. Why aren't you each other and doing jello shots? Like, why aren't you? You should address me. They're like royalty. They tell you what to call them. You should address me as they, them. Because I identify as gender neutral. Oh, okay. Okay. You should address me as there. Because I identify as a location. And the location is your mother's. It doesn't have to be that nasty. But it can be. I don't know, they testify in front of Congress, these kids? Like, what the What are you doing? You're young, you should be crazy. You should be unhinged. Not in a suit saying, I'm here to tell you. You're not interesting. because you went to a high school where kids got shot? Why does that mean I have to listen to you? How does that make you interesting? You didn't get shot. You pushed some fat kid in the way, and then now I gotta listen to you talking?
I mean, I know you're not supposed to say it, but that is brilliant. I mean, it really is
funny.
Freaking funny comedy. And look, the fact that the left is not comfortable with the points he's bringing up. They don't like David Hogg is untouchable, right? The Parkland kids are untouchable. You're not allowed to speak about them. You're not allowed to say that it's ridiculous that we call people they, them, right? Like those are things you're not allowed to say in public anymore. And I think that's why he's getting the pushback. It has nothing to do with what he's actually, who he actually is. It's very consistent with who he is. And it has nothing to do with his sexual scandal. It's because he's coming after the sacred cows.
Absolutely. These kids, for some reason, even though they've jumped into the political arena, are untouchable. Well, that's never been the case. I mean, even candidates' families are off limits until they start campaigning for their mother or father. And when they jump into the political arena, well, I'm sorry, you're fair game now. We can comment on the things you say, and we can comment as to whether it's reasonable or not. And these Parkland kids that were telling us how gun control is the way to go, we have every right to say, no, thank you. You don't know what you're talking about. You guys are 17 and 18-year-olds who don't know what you're talking about. And we're supposed to pretend, like he said, that they're royalty and they're untouchable.
You couldn't even make fun of David Hogg for not getting into the college that he wanted to get into.
Right.
You could not do that. And it was like he was getting rejected. Now he's going to Harvard.
I know.
Crying out loud.
That's so ridiculous.
Harvard.
Wow.
Couldn't get into like local schools around there. Now he's going to Harvard.
Yeah, did you see the stats on that too, where the average, I think he got a 1,200 or something, 1,260 or something on his SATs, which is a decent score. He is obviously somewhat of a
It's not a Harvard score, though.
But it's not a Harvard score. In fact, I think the average of the bottom 25% that get into Harvard is 1,470. Wow. And he got in with like a 1,270.
Wow.
Look, it's not the only thing, but it's like he got rejected by schools far lower on the the achievement spectrum than Harvard before he became a left-wing celebrity. And that's not merit. That's not what that is. I mean, if you think of it, if you're one of these people who are suing Harvard right now because you're Asian and are sick of being discriminated against, they're taking out Asian people with 1550s and putting David Hogg in there because he goes on MSNBC all the time. That's not the right way to do it. And so, again, I think there is a level of criticism that can come, especially to the points. When you're making a point about the Second Amendment, what are we supposed to do? Just shut up and let you say whatever you want?
Right.
When you're saying something that's blatantly not true? And that's beyond the point here of the Louis C.K. thing. It's a guy who does things for comedic reasons. This is kind of who he is. We have a couple of other clips here from him. This is him kind of explaining where his comedy comes from, and it's from a dark place a lot of times. Let's listen to this.
Everybody has a competition in their brain of good thoughts and bad thoughts. Hopefully the good thoughts win. For me, I always have both. I have like the thing I believe, the good thing. That's the thing I believe. And then there's this thing. And I don't believe it, but it is there. It's always this thing and then this thing. It's become a category in my brain that I call, of course, but maybe.
Again, I think like when you hear that setup, what he's saying is he doesn't believe a lot of this stuff. Like he doesn't even believe it. If he's going for laughs and he's going to that dark sort of recess of your mind. So this will be interesting with you, Jason, as a military veteran. This is when he was the most popular comedian in the world and the left loved him. He was doing things like this about the military. Watch.
Of course, if you're fighting for your country and you get shot or hurt, it's a terrible tragedy. Of course. Of course. But maybe if you pick up a gun and go to another country and you get shot, it's not that weird. Maybe if you get shot by the dude you were just shooting at, it's a tiny bit your fault.
Now, you're a vet, and you laughed at that.
No problem with that whatsoever. And every single vet, I think, would not have any issues with that whatsoever. Pretty much all vets are the most politically incorrect people alive.
Oh, yeah.
And what's hilarious is like, this is just talk. This is comedy.
Right.
That we're even having these debates now in 2019 is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's true, and it's like, he'll take a little germ of something maybe you thought one time and blow it into this ridiculous thing, and that's why it's funny. It's going to a ridiculous extreme.
We used to make fun of people that took themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That they got offended over everything. Like those people, they didn't have the voice. They didn't rise above everyone else. They were the ones that oh my gosh, okay, whatever, and they were kind of pushed aside. Now they're the ones leading the debate.
It's so true, and that's one of the best observations I think he has in that first piece, when he said, "What are you, an old lady?" That's what we used to expect. That stereotype of the woman who's offended by everything in the room. That's in the entire society now. We all act as if we're royalty and are offended if you don't call me sir or madam. What year is it? We are going backwards in such a dramatic way, and it's really interesting to watch society embrace it. All right, I want to take a break because we have Jason's border wall thing here, and we've got to raise money for his border wall. So we'll be back in just a second. All right, Jason, the border wall.
Okay, I've got 2 minutes, so... So Brian Kolfage is he's a triple amputee, a U.S. Air Force veteran. He started this GoFundMe, what was this, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. And pretty much the collective, everyone just kind of laughed at him. And I was refreshing this and refreshing it. Seemed like every couple of hours it was going up $200,000 or something like that. He has
for Americans to just pay for the border wall.
For Americans to do it on their own.
Yeah.
So I want to circle back to that. But so now I think they're up, it's $18.6 million. His goal is $1 billion. And just so how all this is supposed to work out, the mechanics of it, if he doesn't reach $1 billion, everything gets refunded back to the people that donated. And a lot of people brought up the fact that you can't just give money to the United States government. That can't be done. So they've gotten a couple of representatives. There's one, I think, bill that's being introduced into the funding budget bill now.
To try to make this legal?
To try to make this legal. And then if they get that done, then there's another act that's been introduced that will make it to where they can continue to donate, and so money can continue to go towards that one specific cause, which is extremely cool.
Interesting.
Really cool. So let's just get this out on the table right now. They're never going to reach the $1 billion goal.
No.
It's slowing down considerably now. Every time you refresh it, it goes up maybe a couple $1,000s or something like that. It's slowing down. But this is my thing. So this is American conservatism in action right now. This is screw it. This is so important for us.
Yeah.
We're not going to leave it up to you. Really, if Medicare for all is single payer is that important to you, why would you leave it in the hands of government? You would put that on your own shoulders. If it's literally people dying in the streets, I'm doing this. And I'm out of time on this. So, I'm going to go back into this, I think.
This is why we have overtime.
Overtime.
For these purposes.
Get ready,
because
be amazed.
All right, thanks. We'll see you on the other side in overtime. See, there you go. It's not a big deal.